Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
The fourth dimension will collapse upon itself, you stupid bitch.
Shut up, I'm a man and I know what's good for me.
Bountiful penis. Amen.
Boy, my ass is sore.
You can get pink eye from farting in a pillow?
Yeah, but you gotta be bare-assed.
I'm gonna invent a toothbrush for your butthole.
It does the trick.
Paddington Bear.
He's a homewrecker?
Yeah, he wrecks homes.
You are a murderer of love.
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. Joined today by Emily.
Hey, everyone.
And a returning guest. We're bringing back Rachel this week.
Hello.
Hey, Rachel. Glad to have you.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we brought you back because this is one of your favorite movies. We're watching Meet the Robinsons this week.
I would even say this might be my favorite movie of all time.
Wow.
I might go there.
That's big. So are we going to still be friends if I pick this thing apart?
No.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, then I think we need to make sure that we're good and lubricated for what's about to happen. So, Emily.
What's our lubricant?
What's your lubricant of choice today?
I made my own invention in theme with the movie. Mm-hmm. I am calling it a beachy peachy breeze.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's in it?
It's got lemon vodka, blended up with ice and peach schnapps, garnished with mint. And it is delightfully refreshing.
That does sound very good.
Beachy, peachy, breezy.
Mm-hmm. Rachel, how about you? What are you drinking today?
I am drinking some Pinot Grigio from the Trentino area of Italy that I don't know how to pronounce, but it's delicious. Usually I don't like white wine, but this is one that I pay for that tastes very good.
Awesome.
And Ben?
Yeah, I went the same route as Emily and I invented my own drink, but I didn't give it a cool name. But my inspiration was the hat that Lewis wears in the movie, which is all of the different fruits. So I have 99 bananas, 99 apples, 99 pineapple, which are all like the liqueurs. And then I also added orange juice and Sprite. And because I didn't feel like it was alcohol enough, I added 3 shots of vodka as well. So got a big glass here. Very fruity.
I'm sorry, what is 99 banana? Or what did you even say? I have never heard of what you're talking about.
Can I tell you? Because my husband, this is a liquor that my husband cannot drink anymore because in college he drank so much of that when he vomited 99 banana, it was so banana-y that he just thinks about the taste of it and wants to throw up.
So 99 bananas, I believe, is like a schnapps. It's just like a flavored liqueur.
Okay.
And I bought a little sampler pack that had 10 different flavors in it. And I just pulled out all the fruity ones that were in the hat and added them to my drink today.
Got it. Well, if you did have a name for it.
Fruit orgy.
Okay. I love it.
Okay, so I feel upset with myself because last time I was so on point with drink.
Yeah.
And this time I did not have time to go to the liquor store. I was going to get some scotch because apparently that was the drink of choice for Walt Disney. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Tarantino. Now I want to call it that.
So, Rachel, last time you were on for the game plan, and that was because you love The Rock. And this week, we're talking about one of your favorite movies, which is Meet the Robinsons. What are some of your other favorite movies that you have?
Well, I am about 3 years old, and I do love all children's movies. If we talk about just Disney, I love Moana. I love Meet the Robinsons. I love, honestly, Frozen 2. And if we're moving away from Disney, I'm going to say things more like Love Actually. I know, I'm that kind of person.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Shut up. And I would say the other go-to I have is Antoine Fisher.
Oh, okay.
Those would be my favorites.
I've not even heard of it.
Oh my God, Emily, you need to watch Antoine Fisher.
Okay.
You'll cry.
Okay. Sounds good.
A lot.
So, Rachel, what's the last movie you watched?
I have a 3-year-old, right? Keep that in mind. So I've been trying really hard to get her to watch Raya and the Last Dragon, but they don't sing in that movie, so she won't watch it. So I think the last one I watched is actually Moana, but I'm really trying to watch Raya and the Last Dragon.
Have you seen it yet?
I've seen it like 6 times when I start it, and she's like, no, and goes outside. And then I'm like, well, I'm just going to watch it then. Bye.
Well, that's good that she's independent enough to just walk away and do her own thing.
Yeah. And I'm like, Aaron, watch the baby.
Oh, there you go. Well, awesome, Rachel. Thanks for joining us today. And we're going to just get into this Disney classic, in my opinion.
I don't know about that.
That is underrated.
Agreed.
I completely agree with that.
During the first half of our podcast, we'll be discussing and reviewing Meet the Robinsons, and the second half features our Battle of Twits, a creative competition this week featuring Emily versus our guest Rachel. And our current leaderboard is Wes and the guests with 7, Matt with 5, myself with 3, and Emily with 0 points. So hopefully she'll get on the board today. She hasn't battled in a long time. Oh, no, Rachel's looking to shut you out, Emily.
All right. Well, maybe it'll happen.
It might. So we did watch Meet the Robinsons this week, directed by Steven Anderson, featuring Angela Bassett, Tom Selleck, Laurie Metcalf, and Adam West. True A-list cast.
Now, enough moping. Take this back to the science fair and fix that memory scanner.
Stop! Get away from me!
Maybe you've forgotten. I'm a time cop from the future. Should be taken very seriously.
That's no badge. This is a coupon for a tanning salon. You're a fake.
Louis, a genius child inventor, and Goob, a malnourished little leaguer, are orphan roommates looking to be adopted. After another blown interview with potential parents, Louis decides to invent a machine that would allow him to see who his mother is, much to the detriment of Goob's sleep cycle. A young boy named Wilbur meets Louis and claims to be from the future and searching for a lost time machine. Louis brings his invention to the science fair, where it's sabotaged by a tall man in a bowler hat before being stolen. Wilbur then takes Louis to the future, where their time machine crashes, while Bowler Hat Guy attempts to sell the invention to a company before realizing he needs Louis to run said invention.
This movie is based off a book called A Day with Wilbur Robinson, which I have never read. Have either of you read it before?
I literally bought it for this book so that I can be educated.
But I was looking at it, and the family members in the Robinson family, they are spitting image, just like the characters themselves. Louis and Wilbur themselves, like the design of their hair and their outfits and everything, very similar. And the book itself doesn't have a lot of the different themes of adoption and longing and not being able to belong somewhere. It has a lot of the family elements where the friend, Louis, comes over and he just meets these crazy people. So I love the beginning of this movie when you get to meet the relationship between Louis and Goob right away. I just think them as roommates, Goob is just hanging out talking about baseball and is just kind of a weird looking kid. He's got like these baggy eyes and he's just like, they're chumps. We're going to win this baseball game. And he's going on and on about it. And there's Louis just constantly building an invention, and it just shows so much character right away from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rachel, I want to ask you, because you're a science person like me, what disease does Goob have that causes him to look like that?
Well, I think the point of it is that Louis is keeping him up every single night, that he's so sleep deprived that he's just fallen apart physically. And I think that's what I said. That leads into what? What do you think?
Well, I agree with you after he starts to decide that he's going to invent this machine to meet his mother. But before that, like, is he really like burning the midnight oil, making his peanut butter and jelly machine? Like, I don't think that's the case. And I think there is something wrong with Goob that he looks like that. And I worry about him.
It's probably the orphanage. The orphanage has like something in the water. I don't know.
Oh, no.
But Louis is just fine.
Well, yeah, he's
thriving.
I don't know.
Thriving.
He came up with an invention that only helps himself. So like he's like top dog. I don't know.
Well, You know, as a scientist,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
stay up every night. No, I think that he is really engaged and really thoughtful, and he's coming up with all these ideas, and he gets so into them that he can't stop until it's done. Yes, the peanut butter and jelly machine is silly, but he probably thinks it's going to change the world for the better.
Right.
So being teachers, you would say Lewis is on the spectrum.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Or ADHD or something.
They both have something going on. There's a reason they haven't been adopted yet.
Oh, God, Ben. No, I love the wholesomeness of how they develop these characters. And I love that, you know how you get kind of a typical feel in movies from an orphanage? You know, how you see there's always something bad happening in an orphanage, or like the matron lady that is the orphanage mom is just an awful human. And, you know, the children are usually starving and sad and mopey. But in this movie, right away, Mildred, the woman, she is just so kind and sweet, and she's excited. She's trying to support every single child. You can hear that the house is filled with laughter, but it's right away, it's very wholesome, and there are bright colors and fun music, and it just sucks you in.
Here's one issue that I have with the movie. Where are all the other kids? It's just these two kids the whole time. You said there's sounds of laughter. I don't think I've ever picked up on that. Where did that happen?
There are some kids running around in the hallways, but no, you really don't see them.
I mean, they don't matter, obviously, but...
Yeah, because they don't have the problems, so they've been adopted already.
Yeah, they're the easy ones.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering about that. So Lewis gets brought out for this parent interview early on where he sprays the peanut allergic dad with his peanut butter gun.
Oh my God, and he explodes.
Yes.
What the hell was that?
But do you guys know anything about orphanages? Like, why wouldn't Goob get the opportunity to go be with that dad?
Right, he likes sports.
Right.
I know, I thought the same thing. I was like, the dad's like, oh, what do you think about sports? And I was like, well, what about Goob? He plays baseball. He loves sports.
Get it. Go get his ass down here.
I don't know.
What is he, napping?
Yeah, maybe.
So, Emily, you mentioned the soundtrack. Did you have a certain song that you really like from the soundtrack?
So I've always loved Danny Elfman's soundtrack abilities. I love how he writes music. I think, yes, he does have creepy elements, but he also brings a lot of joy to his soundtracks. And this movie in particular has a lot of that expressiveness and happiness and joy, especially with how he uses horns. And then intermixed with that, we have some pop music. I know that Rufus Wainwright really got well known with Hallelujah and Shrek. But then when Rufus Wainwright's first song comes on during the montage of Lewis building the memory scanner, it works so well with what's happening. And I honestly don't even remember what the song is even about, but everything lines up perfectly. And the montage itself works out well. And like later, I love a lot of the other music too, you know, as they're moving to the future, and Danny Elfman's score just adds to the world building of this new future world. And so everything about the soundtrack, I think, is perfectly accentuates the beauty of this movie.
Right. Who doesn't love Oingo Boingo?
Absolutely. Well, and the soundtrack does feature a song that I really love, which is Little Wonders by Rob Thomas, because I'm a huge Matchbox 20 fan. So that song at the end, I think, just really does a really great job of punctuating the themes of the movie. And it does this great job of kind of feeling like a whimsical end to this story. Like it's very homey, the song, and it makes me feel things. Yes.
I cry literally every time that plays.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys, this is a movie. I teach 6th grade physical science, and I play this movie almost every year. So I watch it at least 3 times in one day every year. And I cry every single time that song plays, every time.
Now, do you show it because of the huge amounts of science? Like, what's the context with which you show this movie? It's almost summer and go home?
No. Well, yes, but also the context is we do a lot of engineering and embracing failure as an opportunity is the biggest theme. Like, sixth graders, oftentimes they fail and they think, oh, I'm not a scientist, I can never do it. And this movie literally is a great way to be like, oh, he failed so many times that he learned how to do it right. And I just really love that message. Keep moving forward. Keep trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to cry now. God.
Well, I really love the scene at the science fair.
Oh,
I think
yes.
there's so much.
Which one?
The one in the first act, sorry. There's just so much going on, and it's establishing all of these little details that are going to show up later in the movie.
So much payoff.
There's so much setup in the first act for payoff in the third act. And I really love it, from the kid with the toga doing the volcano like every eighth grader that's ever done a science fair does. Or you've got the caffeine addicted scientist that's there to just judge the projects, and the gym teachers that's been pulled in.
Side note, she was apparently drinking 12 gallons of coffee with the amount of caffeine patches she had on.
Hey, she needs it. She's doing good work.
And then the creepy girl with the fire ants, and the coach where he flexes his pecs in the tiny shorts. Like, everything about it is brilliant.
Yeah.
This time around watching the movie, I learned that there was supposed to be a sequel, and John Lasseter canceled the sequel. And I thought, oh, that would be an amazing sequel, or spin-off, to figure out what's going on with the girl with the fire ants. I want to know more about her life.
Oh, and I would like to point out that literally everything that goes wrong in the science fair is because of the stupid fat kid with the toga.
Well, it's not fat shame. I mean, just call him Toga. Let's call him Toga Kid.
Fine, Toga Kid. Everything goes wrong because of him. Whatever. Bowler hat guy and the bowler hat, which we know as Doris, comes and messes up Lewis's project so that this fan goes flying, and then it hits something which sparks the volcano, which then suddenly erupts. Well, if the volcano was going to erupt anyway, which it was, it would have exploded and knocked everything over, and then he would have gone running anyway and hit the table that launched the fire ants, and then the sprinklers would have gone off. It was all the Toga Boy's fault, but we blame Lewis because it's always been Lewis's fault for exploding things.
Who blames Lewis?
Everyone stares at him.
I mean, it was his fan that took it out. I'm not saying he deserves any of the blame, but like, if that happened in there, I would immediately turn to the kid whose invention set off the Rube Goldberg of calamity.
It was the volcano.
That kid was a moron.
There's no monsters on the porch, you nitty.
Listen to me.
Of course, I also didn't think there was a woodchuck living on my arm, and whoop, looky there. Hope he ain't got rabies.
Old man, I need to get to the garage.
Well, sure, I'll get you there in a jiffy. I know a shortcut. Welcome to the garage. Well, I'm completely lost.
Lewis agrees to fix the time machine if Wilbur will take him to see his mother. Wilbur attempts to hide Lewis in the garage until Lewis leaves and meets the Robinsons, all of them. Future-based hijinks ensue as Bowler Hat Guy attempts to kidnap Lewis. After the Robinsons thwart all of BHG's attempts, Lewis is welcomed into the family until they see his hairstyle and realize he is from the past. Wilbur reveals he was never going to take Lewis to see his mother, and Lewis runs off, where he's intercepted, tricked, and taken by Bowler Hat Guy and his hat, Doris.
We didn't talk about when they got to the future and all of the different inventions, and I feel like we need to talk about that. Rachel, that scene, do you have any favorite parts of that scene when they get to the future?
I love the Tomorrowland, which is Todayland. Sorry. I think they call it Todayland in the movie, which is a reference to Tomorrowland.
Mm-hmm.
I love is it tunnels that they go through? Like
the pneumatic tubes type thing?
Yeah, the tubes that they go through. That makes me happy. It's still like a throwback to the Jetsons type thing. It makes me happy. The bubbles that they travel in. That's what they travel in. That makes me so happy.
And then there's the big hand that pops it and they go.
Yeah.
My brain exploded when I saw the apartment building just build itself. Instant apartment building or whatever it's called. It baffled me. I freaking loved that in this little world with all these cool yellow and blue designs.
I feel like, yes, that's cool, but they also have 3D printers that build buildings currently, which
no,
is
I know, but like
freaking
2007 when I first saw it, I was like, whoa.
There's some stuff in the future, though, that I think is just kind of stupid that they had in there, like the trampoline-esque things in the yard.
Those are to commemorate the Epcot jumping fountains. They have the same look to them. I looked this up and I was like, oh my gosh, that's totally true. When you're at Disney World, not just Epcot, but other places have it too in Disney World. But they have these kind of rubber-looking circles that kind of look like grass patches, and they shoot out bouncing water. And I remember as a little kid jumping on those, and it kind of had a squishiness to it. So yes, totally ridiculous and unbelievable, but super cool.
So I guess if it's got a purpose like that, that makes a little more sense than people kind of jumping around on them.
And you do get payoff later for it. Like, you get introduced to it, and then it pays off later.
I have to say, as someone who has seen this movie so many times, it was really hard to watch it through a new lens. Like, I didn't know what to focus on, and a lot of those things just kind of were like, yeah, that's a thing. And I didn't think twice about it.
Right. It just felt normal in the world.
Exactly.
Well, and I think there is a point to that too, where when you watch something so much, it's hard to then try to like attach a critical eye to what you're watching. Like,
that's true.
I've seen this movie so many times that it's like when I'm sitting down to watch it, I never really watched it with that critical eye of like really scrutinizing what I'm seeing. It's always just been like fun family movie, kind of washes over me, and I just get caught up in the hijinks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I struggled with that as well.
And the nostalgia and like, oh, I love this movie. And my go-to was like, something I learned was that the Burt Reynolds thing.
Tom Selleck.
Apparently, first of all, I confuse Tom Selleck and Burt Reynolds every time. Number one.
It's the mustache.
Yeah, Tom Selleck is the voice of the dad, which I'm not going to get into, but and they make a little joke about what does your dad look like? He looks like Tom Selleck.
Yep. Nice little in-joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, when Louis actually meets all of the family, this movie really does montages right. They did a really great montage of Louis building his memory scanner. Then when they're going all around the house and he's with the grandpa and they're meeting all of the family members and Wilbur is following him, it has this intensity of you're getting introduced to people so quick, but then they follow up with it with another montage of Louis telling Wilbur who he met in this family tree style. And it's just so well done.
Yeah, like it introduces to you and then reinforces immediately after. It's good teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually spent some time doing a pedigree of their family because I was like, I after watching this so many times, I still don't know how anybody's related. So I was like, I'm going to pause it and just try to make like a little pedigree and see who's related to who and what. And it took me a long time. I was like, wait, pause, rewind. Who? What? I don't need.
So, Rachel, you have your pedigree in front of you, correct?
I can, yeah.
Are there any children of Aunt Petunia?
Yes. Petunia and Fritz have Tallulah and Laszlo.
Okay, Petunia is a puppet.
No.
What do you mean?
Petunia's
No?
a wooden
sorry. Petunia is the puppet, but Tallulah is the one with the black and white, like cityscape dress.
Yeah.
Right. And Laszlo's the one with the painting gun where you can like shoot and paint fancy things right away.
Yeah, he's got like the anti-gravity thing that flies him around.
And Fritz has Petunia on his hand as a puppet.
I love it so much.
Like, can we just say what the fuck? I mean, I love it too. I think it's one of the best gags of this movie because it doesn't make any fucking sense. Because
really
not
doesn't.
only can you see Fritz making the mouth movements of what Petunia is saying, but also you can see his arm with Petunia's on his arm, and then she drives away.
Yeah, and somehow you just accept that. You're like, okay, that's a thing that's really
normal.
happening right now.
And this movie, how ridiculous it is, that just seems weirdly normal, But I'm still like, when I stop and think about it, I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. What the fuck is this?
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my all-time favorite movie quotes from this movie is when the grandpa is like, I didn't think I had a woodchuck on my arm, but oh, looky there. And he lifts up his arm and there's the woodchuck hanging on his elbow. So dumb, but so wonderful.
I do love the wholesomeness of all the humor. Like there's I don't think there's any moments in it that are mean-spirited in the least. Like it's all just very familial and very warm and loving. And every joke is not made at the expense of someone, but it's just like dad jokes, funny puns. Like this is the type of humor that I really get behind.
Mm-hmm. Of course you do. You're a dad.
Right. What's the line about the dog?
Oh, the C&I dog. Why does he have glasses or something? They couldn't afford contacts or his insurance.
His insurance doesn't
it.
cover contacts. Yes.
Oh my God.
Love that joke.
No, it's not funny. That's the only one that I roll my eyes at.
No, that joke is funny. That's a hilarious joke. And whoever wrote that deserves all of the accolades.
Okay. Well, I will say, I think another one of my favorite parts is the hat gag. You know, Ben, you talked about your drink being inspired by Lewis's hat. I freaking love the hat gag where he starts off with the fruit and he's wandering around and then he changes out the hat. There's just all these like little gags that just show up. Or Lucille's baking cookies. You know, it's just sweet and wholesome.
Cookies, Lucille. It's crazy to me how much character development there is compared to movies. They spend a whole time trying to develop a character and they just can't. And I'm like, oh, it's just perfect. I love it.
I think they use the family as a character. You know, you don't get to know each of the characters very well, except for Lewis and maybe Wilbur a little bit. But the family, they are using it as a character. You know, you get the entire feel of the family with their little pieces and it comes together. And even when they are fighting against the big dinosaur in the part where the bowler hat guy is trying to kidnap Lewis, they are working together. And again, they're using their strengths and skills that we kind of established in the beginning of Act 2. But you see them more as a unit rather than each of their own individual characters.
At the same time, though, there are so many family members that are standout characters within the family where it's like, I think of the grandpa as the grandpa that paints the little face on the back of his head. Like, that's the only detail you can give me. And I know exactly that type of person like that would do that. And like, they're character archetypes that are familiar enough to us that we can be like, oh yeah, I know someone in my own family that is like that. And I think that's what it does really well, is it kind of draws you in by painting these broad strokes of who these characters are, but then you're able to apply your own specific examples within it.
Right. That reminds me, the author of the book, A Day with Wilbur Robinson, Bill Joyce, he actually did base a lot of the characters in the family off family members of his own or family members of a house he used to go and visit. I think it was like the Parks family or something that he used to go visit. They had a huge mansion. And a lot of those details of the family members, like especially the uncles, he had uncles like that. And so I think you're right when you say that you can kind of think and see and feel those kinds of family members. Maybe Rachel doesn't.
I'm just wondering, uncles, are you talking about the uncles that hide in the pots next to the door? He had uncles like that? And Spike, I think it was.
Yep, Dimitri and Spike.
Like, what?
Yeah, but all that really boils down to is just twins being competitive with each other. Like, I don't know. I'm able to see that and just kind of apply it broadly and not specifically like, yeah, I know guys who hide in pots at the front door. Like, it's nothing like that. Well,
that's all I could see. These weirdos.
One of my favorite gags in the movie is Bowler Hat Guy's continued attempts to go after Lewis and using minions and the hats. Where he'll put there's a little hat that goes on the frog, and then the frog tries to like kidnap Lewis, only to he doesn't think the plan's very well thought out because he's got such tiny arms and he can't kidnap Lewis. So then he goes and gets a dinosaur, and the dinosaur's got the same problem. He's like, I got these tiny arms, I can't get them. I don't think this plan's thought out. Like, I love that gag and just the continually going to that gag to draw in humor.
I agree. That's literally the best part of the movie is the dinosaur trying to get him in the corner of the building. He's like, and then looking so sad and like sorrowful, like I'm sorry. And then he says, "Master." And it's just so, like, that's a gag that we say in our own house. Like, if you don't think something through, you're like, "Master, come on." You didn't think this through.
Aha! Allow me to shed some light on the subject.
My old room.
I think you mean our old room.
What?
Yes, it is I, Mike Yagubian. I know, I'm disgusting.
Bowler Hat Guy reveals that the Robinsons are Lewis's family and Lewis is actually Wilbur's dad. Bowler Hat Guy also reveals that he is Goob, seeking revenge for Lewis costing Goob the chance to make the big catch. Goob has teamed up with one of Lewis's failed inventions, Doris, to enact revenge. However, Goob is just a patsy to Doris's master plan, which is enslaving all of mankind. Lewis travels through time, confronting Doris in the past, saying he will never invent Doris, which fixes the timeline. Lewis meets his older self, who offers words of wisdom before Wilbur takes Lewis back to the past, but not before a quick stop to see his mother. He decides not to officially meet her, and back in his original time, Lewis seeks to make sure things turn out better for Goob, and then gets adopted at the science fair.
Oh, that's so happy. I just want to say that this movie has one of the best twists in a kid's movie or a family movie. I was not expecting Goob to be the bowler hat guy. Like, I don't know what I was expecting when I was in middle school watching this, but I was not expecting that. And I know I probably should have kind of figured things out a little bit ahead of time. But when Lewis's hat comes off and it is revealed to the family that he has this big bushy yellow hat, and they're all like, "Oh, you're from the past. That's the tell, your hair." I should have figured it out, but I'm in middle school. All of those tie-ins for me were such a shock. But the best one was that Goob was his former roommate and is turned to become this evil, twisted, foul man.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking love him as a villain. I think he not only is just a goober, is just a silly man, but he tries so hard to be villainous, and it's just endearing with his little cackling ridiculousness. And Doris just adds to his villainy.
Yeah, I think one thing this movie does really well is the reveals, that they happen back to back. Because if you reveal that Lewis is actually Wilbur's dad, and then you space out the reveal that Bowler Hat Guy is Goob, you leave the audience the time to really think through, like, okay, then maybe these other characters are other people too. But because they do them back to back, like, you don't even have the chance to scrutinize it in that way and look at it and try to be like, who is this Bowler Hat Guy then? So it's just a really successful way of doing that, where it's like, here's a twist, here's another twist right away. And it kind of leaves the audience a little on uneven footing almost. It's like, whoa, you just completely pulled the rug out from underneath me. I mean, you kind of got the impression that there was something going on with Lewis that wasn't just like he's from the past, just based off the family's reactions. But to reveal that smaller reveal and then reveal the bigger reveal, I thought that was a really cool way of doing it.
Right.
Best twist in a kid's movie, though? I don't know about that.
Oh, well, then what's the best twist in a kid's movie, Ben?
Go.
I mean, Han being the villain of Frozen is a pretty big twist.
I would say it's on par with that.
With Frozen, though, you have 70 years of princess movies to kind of be like, no, the love interest is not the bad guy, that it's kind of going against that and twisting on your expectations as well. Whereas this one, it doesn't have that kind of built-in sense of history to it.
Yeah, but I will say from the beginning of the movie with the Love is an Open Door song in Frozen, it just didn't feel right because it happened so fast. Like, it was making fun of this romantic element of princess and prince get together at the end of the movie. But in this case, it was the beginning of the movie. And so it didn't feel right. It was like more like they were making fun of it. And so I didn't think it was going to last either way.
I just love how the bowler hat guy goes back to the present and he confronts, he feels compassion and empathy for this kid who just got beat up right? Like, because he missed catching the ball.
Mr. Steak, you're my only friend.
And then the kid, yeah, seriously. And then the kid's like, my coach says I should just let it go. He's probably right. And then this bowler hat guy's like, no, fester. Like, just embrace this. This is who you are now. You're just this. And that's really how it all starts for him. And I just think that's so real.
Maniacal.
It's just even like real world. Like, you have a choice. You get to pick how you react to something, and it really affects who you become.
Okay, here's my problem with a movie like this, and I'm gonna get very nitpicky here.
Okay.
Go.
Time travel movies can bother me.
Oh, same. I agree.
Course,
Time travel movies are a mess.
Because now all of a sudden, Lewis going into the future almost negates that future from existence. And there is no bowler hat guy to then like orchestrate the need for Wilbur to go back and bring Lewis into the future, because Goob has now been adopted or had a showing with someone else. A showing like a house.
That's how adoption works.
Yeah, right? But it's stuff like that now where it's like, well, really then we don't know for sure that this future that we've seen with the Robinsons is really what ends up happening. Does Lewis still get to be with Franny? We don't know that, like, because things happen, and by changing one little thing, you create a ripple effect across time.
True, but it comes back to what Rachel was saying about Goob telling the younger self to let it fester and boil, and it all comes down to choices. So, yeah, that's very true, but it does all come back to choices. And we know Lewis as a character is very motivated to create that same sort of family, even though it may not turn out to be perfect.
That's correct. But a single person's choice does not then dictate everyone else's choices. One choice leads to thousands of other choices that happen. And I have a hard time believing that this Robinson family that we see is what ends up becoming Lewis/Cornelius's family in the actual future that he gets to experience.
Right. I totally agree. And I think that that's fine. I think what ends up happening is he still ends up with a Robinson family, but it may not be perfect. Hell, he may have a Wilburina.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, it's just, it happens. And he's a smart kid. He literally is told that a few times. He'll figure it out.
Okay, so here's the biggest issue I have with this entire movie. And this is where they could have maybe solved it. But first of all, I hate the name Wilburina. Second of all, I couldn't come up with shit. I'm just kidding. But the lack of diversity in the movie is really disgusting to me. I'm like, you could have had a family that looked however you wanted it to look. You had robots, you had dinosaurs, you had whatever. But all of these people are so ridiculously white that grossed me out. That's literally my biggest issue with the family. The book, Day with Wilbur Robinson, is more diverse than the movie itself.
They got rid of a couple characters that were like friends of the grandpa.
Yeah, they had Louis Armstrong and I believe it was Duke Ellington.
Yes, it was Duke Ellington.
As guests, as friends of the grandpa. And they did mention Louis Armstrong, I believe, in the movie. But I'm like, you couldn't have brought in any characters of color, really? Really? That was gross to me.
Well,
I don't know. They have a prominent character of color in this movie, and that's the orphanage.
That's true.
Marm.
Yep. That was something this time around I looked for. I was like, how many people of color are in this movie? And it's one person.
Right. And Ben and I and all of us have talked on IDYP that looking back on 2007 with a 2021 vision and just looking back on it, we are so much more critical talking about looking at different culture and diversity in movies and how especially Disney didn't do shit. And most studios didn't really have to think about race. And so I think what the director and the producers were doing is they were trying to be faithful to this book in a sense. And that was what they were focused on, the more familial. But if they did some sort of reboot, I'm sure that they would make a family that was a little bit more realistic to our United States diversity.
I don't know though if you're thinking about families, like, and I think of my own family tree. My own family tree is very white. There are no people of color within my family tree, and that includes people that have been married into the family tree. So when I think of a family here, like, I'm not expecting to see a lot of diversity within the Robinsons, at least, which are 90% of the characters that we're introduced to in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. That's another reason why I did the pedigree. I was like, where could they have put in or incorporated people of different ethnicities? And
I mean, Aunt Petunia is a puppet.
Yeah, Petunia, like, who knows what her kids could have looked like, right?
Yeah.
So one thing we haven't talked about yet with this movie is the kind of horrific vision of the future that we get when Doris takes over. That was something that John Lasseter really pushed to get into this movie because he did not think that bowler hat guy was scary enough. So they actually added Doris late in the game to the movie when they rewrote it to make it more scary. And that is a sufficiently scary scene for a G-rated movie.
Oh, it definitely is. It definitely scared the shit out of me when I was in middle school.
Right? It does. Honestly, I kind of glaze over that part when I watch the movie because I am also 3 years old when I watch movies, and I'm like, oh, I want the happy ending and the joyful and the whatever. But yeah, that gets pretty dark. To me, that allows for a lot of the discrepancies with time. Like you said, time travel movies are an issue for you. I'm like, okay, I accept that because of this scene.
Okay, I can understand that. Like the intense craziness of the situation. I can understand where you're going with that. But I think for me, a lot of the time issues came up because of that scene. You see all of these characters, the family of Robinsons, there in this garage with a time machine. And they're all being controlled, including Franny, including the grandpa, including Lucille. And you're like, wait, Franny and Lucille and the grandpa are not related and they're all together and this time machine is still here? Wait a second. So that's what all the things get a little screwy because Goob signs the paperwork. That means, I don't know. It just gets a little messy. It means that Lewis never created the time machine, which means it gets messy. But we kind of have to go with it at this point.
You've accepted so much at this point that you're like, okay, this too.
Well, that's true. And I think a certain amount of leeway can be given to a G-rated attempt to do time travel, whereas one that's meant for adults, like you just kind of accept that, like, yeah, to help kids understand it and have it have impact, you're going to have to maybe bend the rules a little bit. Emily, did you learn anything from this movie?
I'm learning.
Yeah, and actually, Rachel, you kind of led into it a little bit. So there's the moment when the bowler hat guy is talking to his younger self, and I've realized that I need to lean into this more. Here's what bowler hat guy says to Goob. Everyone will tell you to let it go and move on, but don't! Instead, let it fester and boil inside of you. Take these feelings and lock them away. Let them fuel your actions. Let hate be your ally, and you'll be capable of wonderful, horrid things. And I learned that I shouldn't let it go. Whatever the fuck I'm angry about, I shouldn't let it go. Which honestly, I think is a good lesson when it comes to a lot of the shit that a lot of marginalized communities have been dealing with for years and years. So even though I know that Disney was saying, hey, this little bad thing happened, you should just move on and let it go. No, I took it a completely different way.
Can I just say, I'll pick up from there. First of all, this is why this is the most underrated movie of the Disney franchise ever. This is the best movie. They were like, okay, they didn't get the message, you guys. Let's make Frozen. Let it go, people. Jesus Christ. Like, let's let it go. You didn't get the message the first time. Can I just also say, Emily, That was an amazing impression. That was perfect.
It really was, Emily.
Spot on.
Yeah,
Do you know how many
nailed it.
times I have watched this movie? So many times.
Did you also practice that in the mirror several times?
Never
Okay.
practiced that before.
She's always had that in her pocket, ready to go whenever she might need it. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
We've been talking about how this movie might have gotten a sequel, but I'm wondering, like, with all of the talks of Disney reboots and remakes happening, like, do you think this movie needs a live action version?
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
We've talked about this, Ben, and I said this is the movie that needs a live action remake, and you disagreed, and Emily just disagreed, and I'm ready to fight. I believe that this would be the best live action remake of a Disney movie. I think that's the truth. Fight me.
Okay, I will fight you on this because I think moving it to live action takes away some of the fantastical elements you can pull off with it being animated.
It gets rid of some of the charm.
It gets rid of a lot of the charm. And then it starts to call into question some of these time travel questions we have. Because if I'm looking at live action people, I'm going to hold it to a different standard than an animated G-rated kids movie. When we're talking about movies that probably need to have reboots, I hear a lot of people throw out like Treasure Planet.
That would be an awesome
I think
live
that would be a
action.
really cool live action movie. Atlantis, another really cool live action movie. I wish Disney would reboot and remake the movies that are kind of underappreciated in their catalog instead of the ones like Lion King. Like, we do not need a reboot of well, I actually like the reboot of Cinderella because they took they took it in a little different direction. It wasn't just a remake of the movie like Lion King. So then
Beauty
was.
and the Beast and Lion King.
Yeah, those two specifically, they're not great.
They're doing a Lion King 2 reboot live action.
Ugh.
I'm like, well, stop wasting your time. Yeah, they are. And I'm like, no, I really do. I believe like this would be a hard one to do because it is so
whimsical.
My word was going to be fantastical.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they could pull it off. I think it would be amazing and magical. But maybe that's just my bias speaking because, like I said, this is my very favorite Disney movie. I think it would be, I don't think they'll ever do it because it's not one that they put I feel like they didn't put that much effort into like promoting wise.
I mean, this was the fourth highest grossing animated movie of 2007, but I do agree with you. The 2000s Disney movies that weren't Pixar kind of got the shaft because Pixar had become this huge monster constantly churning out these critically acclaimed movies. And the Disney animated movies of the 2000s, up until you get to Princess and the Frog in 2009, when it kind of regained the magic of what Disney animation was. But a lot of these movies in the 2000s, like Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Bolt, Chicken Little, but Chicken Little's complete shit.
Chicken Little's fucking shit. My daughter Zoe wanted to watch that after watching Meet the Robinsons, and I was like, no. Also, at the end of Meet the Robinsons, I was crying from the end of the movie song, right? Like I usually do. And I was like, how does this movie make you feel, Zoe? And she said, this movie makes me feel nothing, Mommy.
Oh, wow.
It's like, oh.
Ben, I think we got to play a game.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
Rachel, you're going to play today's game. Are you ready?
I'm so nervous.
No, this is not Battle of Twits yet. This is a game that I made up.
I'm ready.
You did not know you're going to play this, but it's called I'll Take It. So, Rachel, I'm going to give you a real product that exists, and you need to tell me if it's something I would buy or if I think it's dumb.
Wait, you specifically or me?
No, me.
Okay.
So we're testing how much you know about me and my retail habits.
Oh, God.
And this is all because of like weird invention stuff, right?
This is all weird invention stuff. So if you think it's something I'll buy, say he'll take it. And if you think it's something I think is dumb, just be like, dumb. And away we go. A pillow with an arm that will hug you.
He'll take it.
No.
Yes, you would.
No,
you
a onesie for your baby that has dusting pads attached to clean your floor.
God, you wouldn't clean your floor, no.
Yeah, that's correct. A muzzle for your dog that looks like a duck bill.
Yes, you'll take it.
No, that's dumb. A baby stroller that's also a scooter for you to ride.
Yes, you'll take it, you lazy bastard.
A scissors with a pizza slice size attachment for cutting pizza.
Yes?
No, that's dumb.
Okay, I agree.
A pedalless foot-powered bicycle.
No, you're lazy. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I would absolutely take that.
You would totally take that.
You got to see it. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Plastic sandwich bags that make your sandwich look moldy.
Please no. Please
Correct.
no.
A cutting board for bread, but it's got holes in it. That's also a bird feeder.
This is a real thing?
This is a real thing.
I'm going to say no because you hate birds?
I do hate birds, correct. Slippers with LED lights in the toes so you can see where you're walking at night.
Yes, you'll buy that.
A shower cap for babies so that water doesn't get in their eyes.
That's a great product. Shut up.
I don't give a shit about babies, no. Wooden cooking spoons that are also drumsticks.
You'd buy that.
No, I wouldn't.
You stupid cock.
How much you get?
5.
5. Oh, Rachel, you just missed it. You just missed it.
Just missed what? I don't know what I missed.
You just missed earning a point for your performance.
I don't care.
Rachel, we know that you love this movie. Do you have a rating or review for us?
Shoot, you know what? I forgot to make one, but I've been thinking about this. What did I solidify? I drank my whole bottle of wine after this class. My rating that I remember and that I'm going to go with is a 10 out of 10 inches of hair, vertical hair growth to really honor and appreciate Lewis's hairstyle.
Wonderful.
10 out of 10 inches, but I think it's more than that.
You think it's more than 10 out of 10?
I think his hair is maybe more than 10 inches. It's a big...
There's no way. How can you be a science teacher and say 10 inches? Get out of here.
It's very tall hair.
And now it's time to play Battle of the Disgruntled Sleep-Deprived Orphans. I will pose 3 questions to our less than genius inventors and see who has best developed a plan to overcome tiny arms. The winner of each question will get 1 new family, and the loser will get an eternity of service at the brim of your hat, Overlord. I will be most impressed by the quirky and entrepreneurial answers. Twats, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Added for you, Rachel. I don't know if that's going to make it into the first cut, but Rachel specifically asked to be called a twat.
I literally looked up the definition of twit and twat, and I was like, this is appropriate.
So the first question we have today is going to be a Shark Tank style question. So I want Emily and Rachel to pitch me an invention that will change the world for the better. And you're looking to try to convince me to invest in your product. So we're going to start with Rachel today.
Have you ever had a difficult decision to make? Have you ever made the wrong decision? Then this is a product for you. The Butterfly Effect is an app that uses an advanced algorithm to predict how your decision will affect your personal happiness factor. You can look ahead 1 hour, 1 day, 1 month, or 1 year. Any further than that, and the accuracy of the program drops below 60%. Once you download the app, it monitors the people you interact with, the situations you encounter, and the decisions you are faced with. The algorithm is able to tell you what the possible outcomes of your decisions will be, taking into account the other people's decisions and actions. The program is more accurate the more people that have it. Sound a little too big brothery for you? Keep in mind that everything you do is already being monitored by Google and Alexa and Facebook and the government and blah, blah, blah. And anyways, the thing is, with this app, we're using all of that data to help you make the decision that makes you happiest in the moment. You get the maximum benefit from all this invasiveness of urine technology. This app is great for people who really struggle with anxiety and indecisiveness. It's a reminder to save your energy for the decisions that really matter. For example, at first, you might use the app to tell you whether you should eat a hamburger or a salad for lunch. Most people will realize that this doesn't really matter. A year from now, your life will be exactly the same. If obesity or other health concerns are an issue in your life, you may have a different result. Our ultimate goal is to be able to predict how your decisions impact the world. As more people use the app, the algorithm will improve until global impact will be predictable. Does the decision to get a styrofoam takeout container affect the earth more or less than the decision to throw the rest of your food away, and by how much? With your investment, Ben, we can find out.
Okay. So you said how it's for those people who are indecisive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like it also shows you what effect your decision is going to have no matter how indecisive you are. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So why are we just targeting those who are indecisive instead of everybody? Because it feels like everybody could truly benefit from this.
Because in my life, I struggle most with people who are indecisive. For example, my mom cannot figure out which lane of the highway to drive in. She takes about 20 minutes to decide. And so it will help with that. Like, hey, man, you're going to get where you need to go fast if you're in the slow lane, my friend.
Rachel, you know me. If I, Ben, am going to invest in this, like, why should I want to put my money behind this product?
Right now, where we are in production of this product, it's more personal than global.
Okay.
And so you're like, hey, should I don't know, maybe look for a new job? I don't know. Maybe a new job would not benefit me as much as just staying where I am. Maybe, just maybe, I would have more of a global impact if I continue to do what I'm doing currently, right? Like, maybe I would be happier where I am. Like, maybe if I move, my life is going to get harder and more complicated and less enjoyable if I leave versus if I just stay where I am until a different position comes along. You know?
This isn't personal at all.
This isn't. Well, I'm glad that your idea is so well thought out and clearly has an impact on the future and making it a better place. Emily, what is your invention that will change the world for the better?
Rachel and I had a very similar idea.
Really?
Like, very, very similar. Although she went an app and data collection process, mine's a little bit more of a Lewis invention where it doesn't actually make sense.
Okay.
So the world is filled with decisions needing to be picked. What to make for dinner tonight? What to wear tomorrow? What show to start watching? We know that indecisiveness can even cause death by falling air conditioners. Stop risking your life to make all the tough decisions by using Punko's Perfect Picker. It can pick anything from your nose to what kind of pastry you should get. This delightfully adorable Mickey Mouse looking robotic glove will point you literally in the right direction by connecting your subconscious in your brain to the ulnar nerve in your hands. Now go ahead and let the picker pick for you and skip all that annoying, indecisive arguing to just get to what you're going to end up picking anyway. Not only will this invention help decrease fights in all kinds of relationships, it will even eliminate the need to have meaningless debates and discussions over foreign policy and other political agendas. Because, remember, it will just choose the option they are going to pick anyway. Bye-bye government shutdowns. See you never, filibuster. And so long, booger you didn't know was visible. Because remember, Punko's Perfect Picker can be picking everything.
Okay. So you said whatever it picks is going to be what you were going to end up picking anyway.
Yeah, it's your subconscious.
There's a question of like free will versus determinism kind of within your product.
Right.
Is that kind of built into the model?
It is. It absolutely is. Say you have a couple options and you're like, hey, I'm going to pick this option because that's my subconscious telling me to pick this option. And even if you weigh all the pros and cons, your subconscious is still going to go that direction. Now, let's say someone brings in an argument to bring something else in. Your subconscious is going to weigh that a lot quicker than you realizing it. And so it will still analyze it enough where you can find the best option. And maybe it's not even the best option. It's just what you were going to pick anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's the best option because I know I pick a lot of things for myself that are definitely not the best options.
Yeah, but you're going to pick it anyway,
Yep.
even if it's not the best option. So might as well make that decision quicker so you can eliminate all that time wasting.
Okay. Thank you, Emily.
You're
very
welcome.
interesting that you both had very similar inventions to make our world better.
I guess we know what's going to make the world a better place.
I guess you
I
do.
guess we know who we're talking to.
Stop making decisions, friend. I'll make your decisions for you. Emily will make your decisions for you.
Okay, question 2. Create a commercial that will convince others that they need to buy your invention from the last question. So we're going to start with Emily. Emily, please share with us your commercial.
We're going to get an introduction of the 2001 Space Odyssey music and revealing a floating Mickey Mouse hand above Earth. And we're panning down and flash zooming in to multiple different people in different scenarios. So the flying Mickey Mouse hand is going to point to the decision for each person, and there'll be a little sparkle, very Disney-fied. And while this is happening, we're transitioning very easily into Rob Thomas singing his song, Little Wonders, because little wonders are happening all around us. And so, bam, pointing to the decision, sparkle, Disney-fied, until we get to you making your decision, feeling so happy and excited because you didn't have to have any sort of awful arguments about making a decision, leaving you stress-free and happy-go-lucky. The Punko Perfect Picker, followed by a little kid picking his nose with the Mickey Mouse hand.
Okay. So when you say flashing to me, were you talking about
you meaning
me?
The person? Like,
oh, okay. I was just wondering if I'm in this commercial.
No.
Okay.
No, you as in the audience member from their perspective.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you. That is a compelling commercial.
No, it's
Rachel, please share with us your commercial that will convince others that they need to buy your invention.
My commercial stars you, Ben, front and center. Should I continue on with this decision to impregnate my wife? Let me tell you, yes. 1 year from now, you get divorced because you're very unhappy with your decision to have another child. It's not great. Having children is difficult. Having 2 children is fucking difficult. 1 year from now, you choose no, I'm going to use protection this time. You don't have another child. Guess what? You're super happy. Your wife may not be as happy, but that's okay. She's not divorcing you. Also, you don't have another child. You're saving money. You get to go on vacation. You get to do what you want. You get to live life with only 1 child. And you know what? That's fucking awesome. End commercial. End scene with you and your wife and your 1 child going to fucking Disney World. Your bank account isn't suffering. What do you choose, Ben?
So I'm assuming that you cast me because I'm like the everyman. Is that right?
No, I'm casting you because I am pandering.
Okay.
This is the best response I think we've ever gotten on the show.
It's definitely the most honest. Okay, we are going to do a mystery question now, and Emily's going to take off her headphones as I ask Rachel this question. So question 3, Rachel, is a plot twist question. So in the most obvious twist ever, I, Ben, am actually evil. Tell me how I will use Emily's invention to inflict pain and suffering on others.
Okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to wait inside of Disneyland with the Punko, whatever the fuck it is. And you're going to be like, oh, hey, family coming for a good time. Go to this ride. You're going to wait 17 hours to get onto this. I've never been to Disney World. Something ride. That's it. That's all I've got.
Okay, so I will literally be at Disney World using this to tell people to go to other places.
I'm imagining you have Mickey Mouse hands, right? And you're like, hey, welcome to Disneyland. It's so good to have you. We're so happy you're here. The princesses are waiting for you. Go to the Mad Hatter's tea party over here. You're going to wait 14,000 hours to get in. Meanwhile, you could go to the teacups and wait 10 minutes for a ride. But no, fuck you. You're going to the Mad Hatters.
Okay, Emily. Again, question number 3 is a mystery question. I call it the plot twist. And in the most obvious twist ever, the investor in the products, is actually evil. So how am I going to use Rachel's invention to inflict pain and suffering on others?
That's so easy. It's so easy. You are an investor. You have some money. You can easily manipulate people with your power and wealth as a white man to buy this invention, to do more data collection. And especially if you are an investor, you are on the ground floor of all that data collection. So now you have access to all of that. Plus, as you are working through this app, you yourself can make the best decisions for yourself, especially if you can see into the future a year. So you can lay out all those different decisions and make the best decision to do your best interest for yourself.
Okay. Okay, so question 1 was a question where you pitched an invention to me that will change the world for the better. And Rachel, you came up with an app that also collected data that kind of used a butterfly effect situation and a group of people to really hone in on the effects that our decisions have on the world at large. And Emily, you had your Punko's Perfect Picker, which is also a decision-making device. However, it's one that kind of taps into the subconscious and tells you what you're going to pick in the first place. In the end, the difference between these two, which there wasn't much difference between the two,
right,
is I really like Rachel's idea of this global network of users that kind of hones in on a best decision and the effects that it will have on other people, because I was really concerned about the effects on the world at large rather than the individual. So,
as was I.
I'm going to go with Rachel for question 1.
It's a smart idea.
Question 2 was creating a commercial. Emily, you created a 2001 Space Odyssey type commercial that had the hand floating above the Earth and Little Wonders playing over it, which I really appreciate the touch. Rachel, your commercial was much more focused on me and my own personal life and the struggles that I am having. I don't know how applicable that's going to be to other people watching. And in the end, the difference was I really thought that Emily's use of the Disney sparkle effect, which is something that we all kind of would recognize, would really cause us to trust this product because of the use of that Disney thing, even though Disney may not be affiliated at all with it. So I'm going to give that point to Emily.
You know what, Ben?
What,
I
Rachel?
disagree. You're the most relatable person I've ever met. You're a perfect angel.
Wow.
/ the epitome of what human life should be.
Wow. Question 3 was a mystery question, and it was, I'm actually evil. How am I going to use the opponent's invention to inflict pain and suffering on others? Rachel took Emily's invention and chose to have me use it to make the lines at Disney World really long by telling people to go to a ride that, was already busy. I'm not sure if that was a great use of Emily's invention or not. Emily used Rachel's invention to really just focus on making me the happiest I can be. And that, because of the data collection piece and me being a rich white person. I don't know how rich I am, but I'm definitely a white person. And what it came down to was the idea of inflicting pain and suffering on others. I think that by tapping into the things that, I as a rich white male and that kind of privilege and that kind of inherent evil that I have within me, I thought Emily did a great job of tapping into that and knowing that as a white person, I would inflict the most pain and suffering on others. I didn't think that Disney World lines is really that much pain, having been to Disney World. So I'm going to go with Emily on that one. So Emily's going to win this battle 2-1 today.
Good job, Rachel.
I know I disagree, but that's okay. I've never been in Disney World, and so I've lost twice in this world today.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for being on with us today to talk about one of your favorite movies, Meet the Robinsons.
No. Thank you for being on today to talk about the best movie in the world, Meets the Robinsons, because I can talk good.
Again, thanks, Rachel, for joining us. Next week, we'll be having on our friend Brandon to discuss the movie Lars and the Real Girl. So check us out next week when we have Brandon on again. And Rachel, Emily, thank you so much for joining me today.
Don't forget to follow us at IDYP_podcast or email us at idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com.
Woo!
I love you all.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.